All right, so here's the update on the job I went to go look at this morning. The one where they pulled the floor up and found some rot on the subfloor. So I believe the issue is with how the doors sealed on the outside, or lack thereof. Oddly enough, what I found out, they have a back deck, so the door, there's like a tiny little step down from the door to the deck, which is common. But oftentimes, up underneath the threshold of any exterior door, you're going to have some type of trim piece that goes underneath the threshold, so that it's not just hanging over and there's not a gap up under there. Well, on this one, there's about an inch, maybe about an inch space and gap, but they didn't have any trim, so instead, whoever installed it, or however long ago it was, they put like some spray foam, like the spray insulation foam, like the great stuff foam, something like that. They put like a foam and sprayed that underneath the door to seal it off. But the problem with that is that it's not waterproof, and all it does is it closes off the void, but you don't have any kind of protection against the water from the outside. So if you got water splashing on the deck and it goes to the door, then the water's going under the door. So I believe the water is going up underneath the door where the foam is, because there's not any kind of trim piece or silicone or seal or anything like that. It's just foam, so it's just going to get water, it's going to soak it up, and it's going to go inside. Whatever the case may be, it was never sealed properly. So all that to say, the subfloor rotted out because the exterior sealing process failed. Whoever did that didn't do it right. So now you have what we have now. Odds are, with what I'm seeing, there's probably going to be some kind of extra damage to the floor joist, and potentially even the 2x10 band right there, the house band, like the rim joist. If that's the case, then I want to see what's up under there to make sure everything's structurally fine there, and if not, to add reinforcements, add some blocking and stuff in there to make sure it's all solid and good. And in order to do that, I'll have to have the door out. And until this gets handled and dealt with, the floor is on pause. So they got half the floor laid down and half the floor pulled up. So got to get this thing handled so that they can get the floor laid and get the house back. So that's the plan, that's the goal, and gonna do it right. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. Okay, so here is the door. We got some, there is a wall. There's a wall right here that was taken out. It came over to about right there. And so they took that wall out, and so you got some sheetrock repairs going on up there. But the main problem over here is going to be this subfloor down here. You got rotted there, and then pretty bad right there. Okay, so here's another full shot of that. Okay, so the first order business is going to be pulling up the subfloor and taking out the door, getting all that snatched out to see if there's any further damage below to any of the framing beneath it. If there is, then I got to deal with it then. And then if not, cut the new plywood, screw that back down, install the new door, and deal with that. Let's get a closer look at this subfloor here. I will have to change out some of this 2x4 sill plate here at the bottom. The actual studs here should be fine, but I'll probably cut back here, and I'll snatch out the subfloor around here, and then obviously the subfloor underneath the door. But it's pretty bad over here. Normally with doors, and then the 2x4, I'll have to probably cut the sheetrock pretty much level with the top of where the trim was right there. Okay, and we'll get another full shot of this back door from the outside. From the outside perspective, you got a full shot there. And then here's at the bottom, you can see the brick mold's pretty wore out. The jambs are starting to go. Then right here, same thing. But then, oddly enough, at the bottom, you can see up under there, they have spray foam all the way up underneath the door, which is not going to protect from water, and there is no kind of like kick plate or anything to seal that off either. So by the time I'm done, I'm going to fix all that.
got the front part of the subfloor cut out over there, but I'll have to pull it back a little bit farther. I just wanted to see where all the damage was. I'm going to cut out a little bit first to check and see what was going on, but I still have to take some of the subfloor up underneath that 2x4, but the 2x4 is kind of rotted there. But you actually got like the truss system down here, so it's not actually how I thought it was going to be with the framing. Over here, you can see down in there. Alright. But the main part is going to be like on these trusses right here. You got this 2x4 on the top acting as like a 2x10 rim joist, and that's the part that kind of got most of the rot, and then part of this top of the truss. But I'll probably have to definitely replace this part. I'll pull back the subfloor and probably piece it in, and I'll check and see, but I'll probably have to pull this 2x4 out right here, and then I'll replace it with another 2x4, and that should fix that. Now I'll have to just seal it off better. Okay, so I got the subfloor changed out here. So now we got to deal with this gap right here, going all along the front of the door, or the bottom of the door. That was the issue previously. So I'm gonna put some silicone all up in there to waterproof that. Okay, here's the door, and I'm fixing to do a dry fit here. Make sure it's gonna fit in there okay. And then once I get it how I like it, I'll put some silicone down before putting the door in, get that all sealed up down there. And then I will start screwing this thing in, shimming it in, and lock her down. Okay, so first thing I had to do, they had some screws in the side here, 1, 2, 3, just so the door's not opening and closing. I went ahead and swapped the hardware over, and I got the strike plate and the deadbolt plate there, and then there was a piece at the bottom. There's a piece of wood. What is it? This thing right here. So you gotta take all that off first. So now the door functions, and so let's see if we can get a dry fit right here. All right. Okay. So that's in there. You can see down here at the bottom, there's still that gap up under there, and so that was the problem. Okay, so I'm gonna have to, before putting the door in, I gotta put silicone up under there underneath that gap, and then I gotta put a piece of trim up underneath there, kind of like a kick plate. Then you gotta caulk and seal that. So that's the game plan, and that should fix the problem almost entirely from having water get in there. Okay, so something like this gap right here. Oop. It's this gap right here we got to fix all the way across. They got the flash in there, but they had to cut it low because of the door. So what I'm going to do is put a bunch of silicone. But something like this, you can't really afford to skimp on it, so you're going to have to pretty much goose it. So some of y'all might not like that, but I almost guarantee it'll work though. So get all that in there. Oh. Locked myself out. Crazy.
So here's the piece I got. I had to notch it out a little bit. Get this little channel there because of this little deck board that's sticking up back there. But I did another little squirt of some caulk up under there, caulk and silicone, to overemphasize the sealing of it. Okay, see, doesn't that look nice? I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna hook my nail gun up and shoot that sucker in place. So now I'll have a little lip right here to caulk that, and then on the sides I can caulk that right there.